Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Mighty Number 9 as Ray! In the last part we started off the game and got through the intro stage in the first two Mighty Numbers, and now we're heading after Brandish. So in the last part we went over a majority of the bonus score stuff that goes into the mechanics of the game, trying to get high ranks that you can do as either character, but there's actually one thing I didn't talk about in that, which is the final bonus score thing, which is a quick clear. Quick clears only show up when you're in a scenario where a bunch of enemies are spawning in and you need to kill them all to get through. It's clearing a situation like that in a predetermined set of time that's unique for every single instance of that. Largely, if you're good about taking them out as soon as they spawn or using powerful weapons like main game Battalion or Brandish, you're gonna get that and that'll give you a quick 5,000 points or so. And that, in turn, with everything we talked about last time, goes into your end score ranking, as long as you keep in mind that every single stage has its own par. So let's go over each of the pars or levels we've done thus far. The intro stage, the city, the par clear time is 4 minutes, the par kills is 42, and the par combo is 15. To get a C rank, you need 10,500 points, B rank is 24,250, A rank is 35,250, and S rank is 64,500. That's a pretty easy A and S rank, I think. The hardest thing to probably get there is probably the kill count, because there's not many enemies in that stage to begin with. And also, something I'm not sure about is if cutscenes count towards the timer. So if you're trying to go for high scores and ranks, skip any cutscenes that you come across, just in case. For Battalion stage, which is the military base, the clear time is 8 minutes, the par kills is 96, and the par combo is 15. C rank takes 22,500, B rank is 36,250, A rank is 47,250, and the S rank is 76,500. Notably, if you're trying to go for trophies and all that, the Mighty Number 9 fandom page actually has pretty good limitation for maps on each stage. I think maybe ripped from a strategy guide that'll tell you where each of the bonuses are to get like quick clears, sprinters, and all that. So that's a very good resource for that. Seismic stage, the mine that we did last time, the par clear time is 5 minutes, the par kill count is 45, and the par combo count is a very low 5. As for the rank requirements, C rank requires 12,500, B rank requires 26,250, M rank requires 37,250, and S rank is 66,500. And now we're on to the stage we're currently on. Here on the highway, the par clear time is 6 minutes, the par kill count is 80, the par combo count is 20. To get a C rank, you need 17,500 points. To get a B rank, you need 31,250. To get an A rank, you need 42,250. And get the S rank, you need 71,500 points. The slightly concerning thing reading all these numbers out aloud to myself is that it's making my platinum trophy hunting brain go, you know, maybe I should get the rest of the trophies in Mighty Number 9. I already have some of the rarer ones. I think I mentioned during my main LP, doing the recording for the Beck playthrough actually got me what is now my rarest PlayStation Network trophy, which is beating the main campaign in less than an hour. But that's dangerous. I kind of like one of the Transformers Devastation trophies being my top 5 rarest. I feel like seeing all 5 being Mighty Number 9 would be a different kind of devastating to me. Also, I mentioned it during the main LP. This is actually a stage where a lot of people's face in the game type rewards were. Like I've already mentioned, I think last time, that you can see Aaron Hansen's drawing in the background. There's also Alraz's thing. Comcept's mascot's also visible in the background, but apparently also the Proto-Man's logo is in there somewhere, the band. I don't think I've ever noticed it. I'd have to probably watch through in slow motion to be able to catch it, because the only thing about putting a reward like that in a stage like this is that while you're guaranteed to see it, or at least it's guaranteed to be on screen, because it's an auto-scroller, your eyes are constantly going to be on the platforming instead, so you might not actually see where your whole face is. That is admittedly the bonus you get doing something like what Shovel Knight does, where it's like, alright, yeah, here's just a stage that's just an outright gallery of people's faces for things like that. Brandish's stage, though, to talk about it briefly, is Ray. There's not a lot of bullshit in this stage, honestly, so it makes for a pretty prime first pick, I'd say, platforming-wise, especially given Beck's and Ray's movement are very good at covering horizontal distances, even if there's no platforms below you. When you get to Brandish is where things might vary on that, because Beck's weakness for him, even though it's a shit weapon otherwise, is pretty good at melting his health really quickly. Ray's weapon to do so requires a bit more precise placement, because you need to hit the Brandish with the drill twice to get the maximum damage in. And in doing so, you're likely going to need to contend with his Cat and Anna assist trophy attack here, which attacks that take a while in this game are Ray's worst nightmare, Because you need to dodge them as it is to begin with, yes, but the potentially increased damage from the heartbeat counting down your health bar means those attacks go from being high damage to potentially being instant kill in some cases. It's actually for that reason that I'd say Cryosphere is the worst boss in this campaign for Ray, as that fight just has attacks that take too long for you to keep up the health regen at times, as we'll talk about down the line. Brandish isn't the worst, but he can be pretty rough compared to the Beck playthrough. With that said, we still get one of my favorite variation codes from him. It's probably the least changed from the Beck playthrough overall, too, compared to the Resurrection equivalent. You're probably wondering why that's an S rank, despite the fact I said the S rank requires more points a moment ago. That's because Ray herself actually has different score pars needed for every single stage, because her difficulty is overall higher as a gameplay style anyway. So her S ranks are technically stricter to get, but the points needed might seem lower in some cases because of that. By and large, as long as you don't die and get everything done in like 1 or 2 combos, you're probably going to get an A rank usually, maybe a B. First off, though, let's talk about Brandish's ability. Variation code Brandish. Normal slash. Pressing attack will produce a series of quick slashes. Does not drain attack energy. On guard. Holding the attack button will cause Ray to take an attack stance, changing to a swordplay style. Swordplay Bloody Squall. Releasing the button during the on guard stance will consume a large amount of energy and attack all enemies in a wide area. The attack power will also increase depending on absorption combo level. Attacks with the sword can knock away and nullify projectiles, however some powerful projectiles cannot be nullified. I think the boss that's actually weak against Brandish's particular weapon in the Ray campaign is actually more weak against the Bloody Squall, but I like spamming the button more, so I use the slash more often than not. It's still very powerful against normal enemies, and thus it's going to be permanently in Shortcut 3. But notably, they did nerf this from the Beck campaign. Beck's campaign is untouched with this DLC, but Beck's version of this, you could spam the button and just clip through basically any projectile in the game, including ones the final boss spews out. You can no longer do that as Ray, at least nowhere near as reliably, from my experience. If you can do it, I have a hard time doing it. Also, I probably already put the warning on screen, but Dynatron's level is a power station, and thus the lights are going to be flickering on and off, so there's a photosensitivity warning to begin with. But that's especially going to get worse down the line, and I apologize for the video bitrate probably going on later on in the stage, because they do a lot of, like, flickering pink particle effects with certain particular hazards that are just bad for basically any bitrate. Although it does let me talk about one thing. So Mighty No. 9, as we brought up in the main campaign, has the dash, but it also has a crouch dash where you hold down on the ground while you do it, and it lets you slide lower. There's not many times the game makes you use that, and Dynatron's level is one of the few times. And in the original campaign, it feels really tight. It still feels tight to do the crouch dash in that location as Ray. But either because Ray's dash is a different animation, or maybe it goes a little farther or something like this, it doesn't feel as tight as it does with Beck for some reason in my eyes and brain. If it's actually the same, I just don't notice it. But oh well. For now, though, let's talk about the requirements that they want out of you for certain points, for ranks and all that for this particular stage. The par time to clear it is 7 minutes. The par kill count's 92. And the par combo is about 20. As for rank requirements, C rank is 27,500, B rank is 41,250, A rank is 52,250, and the S rank is 81,500 points. I remember these robots trying to attack me, but I guess I was imagining that. Mind you, I'm not sure if I tackled Dynatron's stage without clearing Brandish first. I only did that on my first playthrough, and it's been a long time. This is always a stage that Brand just shows up to get rid of those things during the Beck playthrough in. So I'm not sure if they actually do anything, if at all. Yeah, this is where the bit rate's probably going to get a little tanky for a second, I would guess. That is a giant instant kill rotor. Stay away from it. And this is also coming up on where we have to actually do the dash under, which again, it feels like it's less tight to do it with Ray, but I can't tell if I'm just imagining that or not. Because by and large, barring the obvious attack differences, Ray and Beck do feel like they control about as smoothly as each other. So I'm not sure if there's any actual differences there. Also, I should note, there are sometimes minor enemy placement changes throughout the two playthroughs. Largely, the enemies are a lot of the same. Maybe there's a few more of them in some cases. But there's only a few cases they'll actually change level design between the two characters, and that's largely towards endgame because of the differences between Beck's and Ray's abilities. With that said, we're already coming up on the Dynatron fight, who, thankfully, was nowhere near the horror show she was during the Beck playthrough on my practice runs. Because I should note, I did the same thing for this playthrough that I did for the Beck playthrough, where the recordings for this were done on stream over on my Twitch channel. And that was better in this case. In some regards early on, I feel like the vibes are a little better, but towards the latter third of it, definitely the vibes got soured by my failed attempts at one particular stage just taking forever. Dynatron herself stays in midair a lot, generating little electric seeds that she'll shoot towards you and towards the ground to channel electricity into. She gets a bit more of a chance to actually showcase her abilities in the Ray fights, in my experience, usually than the Beck fights. And I can't tell if that's because maybe Beck's brandish strikes do more damage per hit or what, but it definitely feels like she gets to try to do a bit more, like generate a shield that takes certain amounts of hits to take out. Either way, as long as you're good at button mashing, with or without Brandish's ability, she goes down pretty quick. And she is another mighty number whose variation code, I think, is a much better weapon than her resurrection, to the point where I actually used this in some stages compared to her resurrection, which I think I only used at all during the boss fight that was weak against it in the main campaign. And even then, I think I technically may have stuck to, like, Brandish's sword because it did more damage in a faster amount of time just because of how you could spam it. Also, I do like that we also get some visual differences between each of the variation codes, just like how Beck had different resurrection forms, but they definitely are a lot more subdued with the variation codes because it only changes Ray's one arm compared to Beck's entire body.
My thirst is quenched for now. So, Sanda Technologies manufactures robots in competition with Cherry Dynamics. This team of Battle Coliseum fighters Sanda created, these mighty numbers. Perhaps there's more that I can learn from the data in their cells. 4 left to go. Why must I feed off others to survive? This emptiness in my chest. There must be some way to fill it!
You know, I think I gave them some credit for this in the main LP, and it deserves stating again. The human characters less so, but I do genuinely like each of the mighty numbers and Call's designs, because I think they are really neat looking. Electric Seed. The bit that is launched forward with this attack will electrify the area between the player and the enemy or terrain that it lands on, causing damage over time. If the player is too far away from the bit after it has landed, electrification will fail. Electrified enemies who are destabilized will change from the electrified color to their XL boost color. Also, while enemies are electrified, they can be absorbed from a distance, so you can just dash to absorb them from anywhere instead of just having to make contact with them for once. Kinda good for keeping on combos. Bits that land on terrain will also release a diffusion current. This diffusion current will travel along the terrain. Using this, it's possible to hit enemies that would normally be out of reach. You can also use this to hit switches in certain stages. But yeah, like Beck's design, I think, is neat. A lot of the mighty numbers I like. Ray's design, even though it's very clearly somewhere between Proto Man Zero and a little bit of Getter Robo, I think she looks great. Now, if only they were in a better game, which I guess technically they are with Mighty Gunvolt and Mighty Gunvolt Burst existing, or Gal Gunvolt Burst in some places, depending on licensing and all that. Alright, Counter Shade stage was weird as Beck, and it's still pretty weird as Ray, for those that don't know the mechanic here. It's effectively a gigantic circle of level design that Counter Shade is just hiding in certain rooms in. Catch up with him, do some damage, he flees to another room. All the while, there's enemies to fight, of course, but also he'll be aiming his sniper laser at you, and it can bounce off certain terrain or certain bits to direct the bullets into you. If you don't do enough damage to him before a certain time limit in the rooms that he's in, he will flee to elsewhere anyway, and the stage will take longer. If you're fast on it, he's always in the room he was just in, then back at the entrance, then in a room beyond the first room, which isn't a lot to write home about as Beck, but as Ray, if you're not smart about leaving some enemies behind in the backtrack sections, your health draining can get pretty dangerous pretty quickly here, on top of the fact that since Ray has less range, depending on where he teleports to, like this chandelier, reaching him can be a bit of a trial if you're trying to do it quickly. With that said, let's talk about the things you need to do in order to get the high ranks here as Beck. The clear time power is 7 minutes, the kill count's 43, the combo is 10, which I think seems kind of low, but given the amount of enemies in this stage to begin with, there's not that many, so reaching that high combo does seem like it could be pretty rough. C rank requires 10,500 points, B rank is 24,250, A rank is 35,250, and to get the S rank you need a minimum of 64,500 points as Beck. Now, if there's one thing I can actively give both campaigns, I think they do reward usage of special weapons in levels a little more than mainline Mega Man does for a lot of its existence. Because either they're good for mobility in a lot of cases, but also, since absorbing the Zell of an enemy recovers some weapon energy, I think pretty much universally, you have more opportunities to refill any weaknesses of bosses you're going to use along the way. Because that's something I find myself doing a lot in mainline Mega Man, for instance. Where, if I'm entering a stage, I'm not really going to use the weapon that the boss is weak against until I'm at the boss in case I can't get good recovery in time. Sure, W-tanks, when applicable, can help with that, but I can't always rely on those, so I always feel afraid to use it. That's why I'll usually start using a special weapon that the boss is weak against the stage after that, more so than the stage I should really use it in. Mighty number 9, for all of its issues, does actually reward that a little better because you get more weapon energy along the way. The inverse issue that does at times cause, though, is that sometimes the weapons have very little ammunition to their name to begin with, so using it even once or twice can drain a lot of it very quickly. Like, looking at Brandish's weapon, for instance, if you use the on-guard stance, that's over half the weapon energy gone at this particular moment, which, yeah, that's pretty rough if you're trying to use that regularly. Not that there's a lot of cases you would use that regularly, but worth noting all the same. Now, if there's one thing I think this stage kind of exemplifies, it's that I think they maybe should have reduced the instant kill hazard count for Rei, since she already has to contend with having to move a little faster and slower at the same time due to her health issues. Because there's some cases where, say in the upcoming room, where if you try to just dash over to Countershade wherever he goes, with just the base slashes, for instance, you're going to be in some tight situations. Yes, you could just say you shouldn't tackle the stage first, and that's always the thing you can do in these Mega Man games. But it does feel like they maybe should have moved some platforms around a little more often, at least, to facilitate her closer attack style. With that said, it's time for Countershade. I think I actually used his weakness wrong here. Because as we saw, Dynatron's weapon can shoot electricity out if it contacts a wall, and that does do damage to him, but not a lot. The way you actually, I think, do damage to him with this is by hitting him with the main projectile and having the electricity hit him first. Because that also means in the case he's like high up in the ceiling, you can dash to do the Zell absorption without having to actually be near him. Countershade is definitely a little more of an RNG-reliant boss fight because he can appear in so many different positions in the room, and while there are some attacks that have clear safe zones like this, when he starts spawning in the decoy that doesn't take any real damage, you start to notice the holes and hear a little better. The best places for him to show up are either next to the 2 overturned couches on the floor or on the chandelier, because there's easy ways for you to hit him through that or from behind him. Otherwise, if he's on either the 2 shelves, you're in some pretty rough spaces at that point. Admittedly, that is probably where Dynatron's weapon would come in handy most, but I just prefer to use the main 1-2-3 slash in the case I'm out of ammo, or if I just use the weakness wrong. Again, Rei's 1-2-3 slash attack does do sizable damage that's worth considering. It's a lot better than Beck's pea shooter is in the long run, barring the lack of spammability in comparison.
Which is it?
Now, something I've already said before is this playthrough doesn't have a lot of new cutscenes. In fact, every cutscene is just Rei monologuing, so they only had to get the one voice actor back. But I do wish they could have maybe used a lot of the money they had on the side still, probably, in order to, I don't know, get the voice actors back to even just have, like, a line of, "You again," or something like that for Rei, considering her mysterious origins otherwise. Just to imply a little more. If it's not clear by what the story's been thus far, despite being the secretive Mighty Number 0, they actually don't do a lot with this particular storyline. Ah, come on, 1 hit left, come on, Countershade, there we go. So, for beating Countershade, we get an interesting variation code. Technically more useful than his resurrection once again. It's just weird that they give you something like this. I'll let the text description of it showcase what it does better than my wording, because you won't believe me if it's not on screen, honestly, is I guess the way I can phrase it. Probably is also my favorite reselection look-wise. I don't know why. I think it gets a shield aesthetic to be like his hat. I just think that looks neat. Definitely an awkward attack to use, though, but you're not using this for attacks in a lot of cases. All right, let's go take a look. Variation Code Countershade. Phantom Mode. Holding the attack button will allow Ray to cloak and nullify all enemy attacks. Attack energy will continuously drain while cloaked. You're completely invincible. Assassin Kill. Defeating an enemy with tackle while in Phantom Mode will reward the player with more energy recovery than usual. So not only are you invincible, you recover energy just by tackling things, which is absurd. And I should note that invincibility also applies to many instant kill hazards, so this is a great ability, outright potentially broken in some cases. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 3, I think we're actually going to go finish off the rest of the Mighty Numbers. See you guys then.